Hey Seekers, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in September, which were a lot less than I read in October, but without any further ado, let's just get started. In September, I managed to read only 6 books among 1,269 pages, which compared to other months is not many, but overall is not that bad. Among those, I read 1 poetry book, 1 picture book, 1 graphic novel, 1 self-help book and 2 novels, so there was a lot of variety, and out of those 1 book was a 5-star, 3 were 4 stars and 2 were 2 stars. All of these books were new reads, and I read 1 book in digital format and another one as an audiobook, so I read no physical books this month. Also, I DNF'd Treasure Island because it was just very slow, so I might pick it up again in October or November, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to. So let's get started talking about the book that I enjoyed the least, which is probably the one I have the more to say about, and that is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is a self-help book written by Mark Jefferson, I think, right? Yeah, Mark Jefferson. I hated this book, and I still don't know why I gave it 2 stars instead of 1, but this is basically a self-help book about not giving a fuck about anything and trying to live your life without caring so much about the little stuff. But I just hated, even if I agreed with some of the things this author said, the way it was written and how the information was presented was it was horrible. Mainly because of 3 reasons. The first one is that he just swore all the time without any meaning. He just could say the word fuck 6 times a page, and it was really repetitive and it drove me nuts, especially because as I read it with the audiobook, I just was hearing the word fuck all the time, and it was... I must give credit to the audiobook narrator. I don't know who he is. At least it was entertaining and funny what he said, so that's why I got through it. Another one of the complaints that I have is that basically after 2 pages of just saying do not give a fuck about this, do not give a fuck about that, he has inserted some kind of philosophical kind of quote from an author, but he didn't go deeper into what these authors said, just said what they said and moved on to saying fuck again, so it just was a bit pointless. And the other thing why I didn't like this book is because sometimes he was maybe talking about an anecdote or something, and he applied it to the general context that was behind that anecdote, and really over generalized a lot, and didn't give any actual data to explain. One thing was the way he said, and also at some points I felt as if he was trying to explain to me why his life was better than mine, and it just it's really no, yeah, don't read it. The other 2-star that I read last month was Thornhill, and this one was actually pretty interesting when I looked a bit into it, because it's a story that is told between images and words. Well, it's basically 2 stories that intertwine, but the one told through words is the most important one. It reminded me a bit of the way The Invention of Hugo Cabret or Wonderstruck by Brian Selznick are told, but this one I liked a lot less than those 2, and it's basically the story of a very shy girl in an all-girl institute in like the 1970s, and it tells how she is bullied and left out by the other girls, which are just very, very mean and absolutely horrendous. They're little monsters, and that's basically the whole story. And it's like a 200 and something pages book. It's a bit basic. I would say that it's a book that I would recommend for maybe middle graders, and maybe if you like Coraline and books along those lines. but it's not as dark as I would have liked, and the story isn't that complex, so I basically expected more from it. I must say that I did not expect that final ending, but apart from that, I didn't really enjoy it that much. Now I'm going to talk about the book that I badly read last month, which is Cinderella is Dead, and this one I read for an LGBT book club that I have on Twitter basically, and it was really fun discussing with all the people that in that club. But about the book, well, basically this is a retelling of Cinderella, but it takes place 200 years after Cinderella has died, and it's set in a society that is really misogynistic and that makes young girls have to go to the ball and get married to then live a miserable life where they're told what to do and worship the tale of Cinderella, which is basically a cult. And it's really dark, and I loved the beginning of it. The setup was so interesting and I was really into it because, as I said, it's really dark and it really went into these aspects and didn't feel maybe killing characters, although I would have liked to see one of the characters that I really loved at the start die, because I think it would have been more impactful, but I like that he survived, I guess. And from that point on, well, as I said, I loved the first 10 chapters, but then the middle of the book it took a turn and we basically went into a bit of a slump, and we stayed there for the whole middle chunk of the book, and the pace didn't start picking up again until the last 10 chapters or so. So yeah, I think it could have been done better, but I still did really like the overall execution and the characters and society especially, so that's why I gave it 4 stars. Another book I gave 4 stars to last month was My Heart, and I don't remember the author neither, and this is actually basically just a poem that is illustrated, and there's not much I can say because it's a really short book. It's only 32 pages or so, and even if it is a picture book, as I said, and it is dedicated for children, I really enjoyed it, because even if I think it's told in a really simplistic way, it does manage to go deeper into the subject it's talking about, and it's really sweet. It reminded me of The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, which I really loved as well. So if you're interested, definitely go check it out, because it's a really fast read and you're not going to lose anything, so just go for it. And the last 4-star book that I read this month was Stuff I've Been Feeling Lately, which is a poetry book, and I think I would need to reread it to really know if I want to give it 3 or 4 stars, because if you do read it, I would recommend reading one poem from the first part and then the first poem from the second part, because they're really connected, and that would have given me a lot more depth. But I still did like it overall. I have had problems before with poetry books not knowing how to rate them, because it's a really personal experience and it depends on how the book connects to you. And you're obviously going to like some poems more than others, but I usually rate poetry books depending on how many poems that really affected me or made me emotional or stuff like that. This one was quite special to me and really had me thinking at some point. So I'd say that if you're looking for a book to start reading poetry but you don't know which one, I'd say this one is a pretty good starting point. And the last book that I'm going to talk about today is a graphic novel, which is Over the Garden Wall. And okay, so if you don't know anything about Over the Garden Wall, it's a Cartoon Network miniseries that premiered in 2012, I think, and it's really short. It's only 10 episodes, 10 minutes each episode. And it's so sweet, so dark, and so amazing. It's 4 seasons, so you should give it a watch because it's perfect for these times. And since I watched it for the first time like 1 month ago or so, I've been obsessed with it. And this graphic novel is the only one that Paul McHale, the creator of this series, actually produced and took part in, and he overlooked the whole process. And these stories that are in this graphic novel take place between each episode of the series, and one of them gives a whole backstory to one of the side characters in the series, and it's just it's amazing. So definitely go watch Over the Garden Wall if you haven't, and after you finish, go read this because it's amazing. It's at the same level as the original series, and I love it as much. But either way, that's going to be all for today. So if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and follow me on my social media, which will be linked down below. And also, I'll try to do reviews for these books on Goodreads, so check on those if you follow me there. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. No, what? Pencil?